So in our alignment class, we often talk about a syndrome that's called upper cross syndrome. So to assess it, we measure where the top of your sternum is and then your first thoracic vertebrae. So on my skeleton here, if you can imagine a line from the top of my sternum here through that first thoracic vertebrae. So we're looking for a straight line there. And often what we see for upper cross syndrome is that tightness in the upper traps, a slouching of the shoulders, and a forward head. So when we are seated or stressed or doing a lot of work at the computer, we can often develop upper cross syndrome. And so what it is an X, right, where we have very tight pectorals and very tight upper traps, and then we have a weakness in our neck flexors, and then the muscles that externally rotate our shoulders and pull those shoulder blades together. So we're just going to go over some quick foam rolling exercises to help release some of that tightness, and then in the next video I'll show you some corrective exercises once that's released. So here we have a few different pieces of equipment. We have a single tennis ball, a double tennis ball, and the foam roller. So the foam roller is the easiest to start with, larger surface area, so if it's tender, it's best to start here. So you're going to align yourself so that you begin at the very bottom of your rib cage, hands slightly come up to the top of the head, bottom lifts off the ground, and then you're going to roll up and down the back, looking for any areas that are tight or tender. So a few passes here, up and down the shoulders, again, no lower than the lower rib cage. And then you'll stay on the right shoulder, left shoulder comes off, digging in and around that right shoulder blade. And then same thing on the left, digging up and around that left as the right comes off. So when you finish there, if you have some spots that are still bothering you, you can place a single tennis ball in and around the shoulder blade. So you could do that up against the wall or down on the floor where you're placing it again. If you have some of those tender spots and going up and down and around and pinpointing or trigger pointing that spot in the shoulder. The double tennis balls help to get the upper traps a little bit more. So when placing the ball, you want to imagine the spine is here right in the center between the two, and then your right and your left trap are on the side there. So you'll lay down, find those upper traps at the base of the neck, and then place pressure downward against them. So there's 3 stages to this exercise that helps to work, again, releasing that tension in the upper traps. The first is just to begin here in this position. If you've got some tenderness or tightness in there, you can stay here in this position. The second, to advance it, is now to lift the hips up higher. This places a much greater downward force against those upper traps, pushing again the tennis ball into. And the third one is to raise the arms up, inhaling as you lower the arms down towards the floor, and exhaling as you raise the arms up. So you're threading that muscle back and forth while keeping the tension against it. And then coming down, releasing the shoulders and placing the tennis ball out. So when foam rolling the upper traps, it's not necessarily a 30 seconds or 60 seconds or 10 times. It's just based off how you feel. You want to make sure that you're able to relax the tension, that you're not creating more tension that was already there. For the pecs, you can use the roller, but most people prefer the tennis ball. The easiest thing to do is turn the head in the opposite direction. Take the very top of the pec along the sternum, and then pull and knead the pec out towards the shoulders, moving all the way down, and searching again for any of those areas that are tender or tight. Making sure again that you're keeping the head across. If you bring the head towards, often you'll tend to bring that shoulder in. And then after you've threaded all the way down, then you can go back to some of those spots that were tender and then just give them some gentle relaxation or releasing some of that tension in those restricted areas. So hopefully that helps with some different equipment and some different tips that you can use to help release that tightness if, again, you've been in a stress situation, or you've been working a lot from the computer in that hunched over position and you're experiencing some of that tightness in your traps. So tomorrow we'll go over corrective exercises to help balance that position better so that the rib cage is lifted and that, again, T1 and top of the sternum have better alignment.